This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. The Yankees had 2 home games to start the ALCS. They won both of them. They're up 2-0. Headed to Cleveland for Game 3 today at 5 o'clock. They also play tomorrow. If they don't win both of those, they play Saturday night. But hey, you'd rather be up 2-0 than not, right? It's kind of fun to be there. Then you get to talk about how to keep the pressure on rather than how to find your footing. The Yankees now will go to Cleveland, Ohio. Their lineup is going to look a little bit different today in a way that only scares us, I think, because we are rabid fans, anxious fans. We wear the same shirts for every game and have to lay out our hats in the same way, fans. But in reality, these are changes that are normal to make. You have to get some lefties out of the lineup against Matt Boyd, who's a left-handed starter who has 6 2/3 shutout innings with 10 Ks so far this postseason. But that is across 2 starts. He doesn't pitch very long. None of the Guardian starters pitch very long. Tanner Bybee was supposed to, and then he went an inning and a third. So the Guardians are hyper-aggressive with their bullpen. Boyd's not going to pitch that long in this game, probably, presuming a complete pivot in strategy. So Anthony Rizzo not starting, John Birdie hitting 6th. That is presumably why is John Birdie hitting 6th? Because when Anthony Rizzo comes in, he's probably going to hit 6th. Austin Wells to the bench, Jose Trevino starting and batting 9th. I thought I'd find this more jarring than I do, and obviously I think there's a lot of value in Wells' defense, and especially his block with the bases juiced with Clay Holmes on the rubber the other day. But I am quite confident that in the mid-innings, you might see Austin Wells in there before the Yankees bullpen comes in. All in all, this should be another interesting one. The Guardians are the team on the ropes, and you'd always rather be the team that is holding that team on the ropes, continuing to punch. Clark Schmidt today, Luis Gil tomorrow. The Luis Gil start is, I don't know what to think about it. It's been 3 weeks since we've seen Luis Gil start, but it was also several weeks between Clark Schmidt starts, and he was his usual self in the ALDS. So don't get distracted by everybody telling you the Yankees have an easy playoff path. If it was that easy, they'd be here. Also, they're just trying to goad you into saying that the Yankees' job is done. The Yankees' job is not done. The Yankees know their job is not done. Their job is to win a World Series. They're not even in one yet. They have to beat the Guardians 2 more times, and they are in a nice situation where if they beat the Guardians 1 out of 3 times in Cleveland, they come home to Yankee Stadium with a 3-2 lead and 2 chances to clinch a World Series. They probably don't want to do that. They would probably like to beat the Guardians 2 out of 3 times or 2 out of 2 times and make the Guardians go away and get some rest. I don't want to come home this series. They have it as a safety. They have it as a safety net. That's really nice. That's what you get from winning the first 2. You didn't have to win the first 2. Carlos Rodon could have stunk it up. He was fantastic. Game could have gone off the rails when Gerrit Cole stopped working his way through jams and started succumbing to them. It didn't. Clay Holmes got some really big outs. Austin Wells made that block that I mentioned earlier. We're going to talk through Game 2 because we did a podcast on Tuesday because of the holiday. Only 1 game got played between podcasts. We will obviously recap Game 2 because, again, I like talking about wins. It was a Slopfest all around. Aaron Judge went yard. The Guardians looked pretty bad. Brian Rocchio and Steven Kwan are still both hitting over 400. Really weird game, and yet the Yankees won it fairly comfortably, and Luke Weaver pitched again. But we do have to roast some guys, just like John Sterling did. Plus, the lineup's out today. But what about moving forward? Anthony Rizzo, if he's feeling good, maybe he needs to get a bump up to the cleanup spot. We're going to talk about all that on a relatively short show heading into tonight's game. And then we're going to be back, obviously, next week after all that good stuff with some more details. And here joining me, as always, is Thomas Carannante. Thomas, welcome to the show.
I am here. Welcome in, everybody. Wish Adam a happy birthday. Today's his birthday. Scream it, yell it. Adam selflessly giving you the Yankees news up top, but we have more important business. What are you, 34 today? 34 years old? I believe Adam is 34 years old, and he just unplugged his mic. Perfect timing. Adam is 34. He's shaking his head yes. But, yeah, that's your co-host. That's the guy who drives the podcast, so show your appreciation. As for other orders of business, we got Underdog Fantasy here. Please take a swing at Pick'em. This baseball season on Underdog, over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. Win up to 1,000 times your money by choosing higher or lower on your favorite player stats, such as strikeouts, total bases, and home runs. Pretty simple. I was in there. I hit Carlos Rodon strikeouts the other night, took a little bit of a break. We're going to be back tonight or maybe tomorrow. I haven't seen anything that I particularly liked. Yankees against lefties worry me. All these lineup changes, I don't know. Clark Schmidt, not sure. Probably, I think will be good, but I don't know what to forecast here. So I might wait it out. Either way, it's a good time. We encourage you to get on there. And it's very, very easy to play, even easier to get started. All you got to do is go to their easy-to-use mobile app or head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with the promo code GOYARD, and then Underdog will give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick'em entry, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Unbelievable. That's, again, Underdog Fantasy promo code GOYARD to claim your new player pick. And that deposit offer, you don't want to miss it. However, you must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mpcgambling.org. If you're in New York, call the 24/7 HOPE hotline at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. That is it. Underdog Fantasy here to help you have some fun. Yankees 2-0 series lead. We are thankful. We are hoping for a 3-0 series lead on Adam's birthday, but we know how hard that is. We know how hard it is to do that on the road. We know how hard that is going to be. Cleveland's crowd is very energetic. That is a baseball city, baby. So it's going to be exciting to be back there, I think. It's going to be an electric environment. Now we have all these lineup changes. I'm still concerned about a few things. Obviously, there's the Gerrit Cole outing. There is the offense largely failing to break through. You have another 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position night. Yes, you have Aaron Judge break out of his slump with a massive homer, which essentially broke the game open, but you had 2 base running gaffes. You had an inability to get a damn bunt down. I mean, it's still some of this stuff that's lingering that you are worrying about in the back of your mind because, again, I don't think the Royals and Guardians have brought it to us yet, really at any point. It's mostly been, at best, punch for punch with our both sides is like mediocre punches. We haven't seen the haymakers yet. So when push comes to shove and the opponent brings the absolute heat, it's going to be concerning if these issues persist. But again, can't complain with a 2-0 ALCS lead. Cannot complain with the pitching staff lined up kind of exactly how you want it. And now we head into Cleveland. We got some lineup changes that we got to talk about. Where do we want to start? We want to start there. We want to do a quick recap of game 2. What do we want? What's everyone feeling?
Let's do a quickie recap of game 2, just because I feel like I had to give them guys some credit. There is negativity to go around, obviously, in these games. From the first inning, at least, feels identical every single game, and because Gleyber Torres and Juan Soto have started 5 of 6 games with back-to-back base hits, which is unbelievable of all across both the first 2 playoff rounds. And Aaron Judge has cashed them in once on that dropped pop-up in game 2. The other time a run scored was Soto scoring Gleyber. Gleyber doubled, Soto singled in Kansas City in the final game. So 5 premium run scoring opportunities to start 6 of these playoff games, and the Yankees have scored 2 total runs in those innings, and 1 came from one of the worst plays you've ever seen from, again, 400 hitting Brian Rocchio, who's been a thorn in their side this whole time. Angriest I've been in the entire postseason was watching Jazz Chisholm get picked off second base. First and second, nobody out, trying to start a rally against the Guardians bullpen. You've been unable to do that through innings 3, 4, 5, but also, of course, you've been unable to do that because the Guardians bullpen is built for you to not be able to do that. So it's not surprising that they're executing, but it's frustrating when the game goes from 3-0 to 3-1 to 3-2. You're like, a run could be the difference between a series win and a series loss. As crazy as that sounds, because if you can't get this 3-2 lead to 4 or 5, and you're nursing 3-2 in the later innings, and you're bringing in this beleaguered bullpen that's been phenomenal, but is still tired because they pitch every single day. If they give that home game away and it's 1-1 going to Cleveland where the fans will be juiced up, you're in trouble. And it's not just losing, it's how you lost. And if you lost because Jazz Chisholm got himself picked off second on a nonsense play, and then the bullpen gave it up, you'd be very nervous heading into game 3. Now, this is a playoff run. Yankees have already had a 1-1 series. You're going to have to win tight games. You're going to have to win pivot games if you're going to win postseason series, if you're going to win championships. So don't expect this to be easy. The whole 2-0 is fantastic. 3-0 is rare. They might win tonight and just really put themselves 1 inch away from the World Series. But it's not easy to do that. And they might have to win some gut check games later in this series. Just go out, take everything day by day, play as well as you can, and then, holy shit, if they win tonight, then unbelievable. But games hinge on the little things. Jazz almost gave game 2 away. Gerrit Cole was hanging by a thread. Certainly in the 3rd and 4th and 5th innings. Clay Holmes did his job again. Austin Wells did his job with that block. But then you're in a nail biter and Justin just wanders off the bag because the pitcher waited. No good reason. No great pickoff move. No wizardry. He just waited. He threw to second and he got you. So potentially a series winner, if the Yankees do move on, is Anthony Rizzo delivering in the very next AB. Because without that double, without extending it to 4-2, and yes, it should have been 5-2 because Jazz should have been on second and Jazz should have scored, and Volpe only scores because of that bobble and right, although I kind of feel like he should have gone anyway. I don't know why he was stopping at third. Either way, that insurance run is the pivotal moment of the series so far for me. And they build on it. Obviously, Aaron Judge goes yard. High fastball against one of Cleveland's horsemen that we can't stop hearing about. Somehow they emptied the whole bullpen in game 2, and Stephen Vogt managed aggressively and crazily, and yet we still didn't see Emmanuel Clase, who I think could have gone 2 innings at that point, and we still saw Aviles in the middle innings. Like you've got all your guys. You can go Cade Smith for 2 1/3 or 2 2/3. He threw like 17 pitches in an inning and 2/3, and you pull him. Tim Herron comes in. You've got 3 innings to cover, and you cover them with your B relievers, and then you bring in Hunter Gaddis, and Judge goes yard. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love that it's been a longer layoff for Clase. He's probably got to pitch tonight, regardless of the situation. So that's
literally, yeah.
You're going to see him. I mean, and if the Guardians intend to use him in the rest of the series, then he can't not pitch before game 4. That's just silly and asinine all over the place. But the Yankees, you would say obviously sloppy game. Lane Thomas bobbles the Rizzo double and right. Let's Volpe score. Rocchio drops the pop-up. All that slop in game 1 with the bases loaded walks and the wild pitches, and now Bo Naylor isn't even starting today. Austin Hedges has been an offensive 0, but still probably a good move by Stephen Vogt. So the Yankees, get the 2 sloppy Guardians games. They play a little careless themselves. They don't exactly pull away. They pull away to 4 in the 9th, and Aaron Boone still does go to Luke Weaver, which I think falls into the same category as the lineup changes today of like, look, I didn't love it, but what I really didn't love was Weaver going in game 2 with a DS for 5 pitches. 6-2 lead in the 9th at home, game you need to win, heart of the Guardians order. I mean, if he puts Ian Hamilton in there and Jose Ramirez goes yard with a runner on and it's 6-4 and nobody out because Hamilton hasn't pitched in a week, we're losing our minds. Like, I get using Luke Weaver. I would have liked to have stayed away from Luke Weaver, but I would have liked to have put up 2 extra runs against Ben Lively or against the Guardians bullpen in the middle innings and be up 8-2.
Exactly.
6-2, you have to think about it. You have to secure victories. There's an off day today. Holmes had a light workload in that game. Canely didn't go in game 1 and now has an off day between outings. Tim Hill was a godsend in that game, getting 5 outs, including Kwan, including Ramirez, the day after the bad 3 hits and 4 ABs, the obstruction call. I don't know if he technically counts as a Damaso Marte, considering Damaso Marte had a 9.5 ERA in 2009 in the regular season. He was dog shit all year, and he barely pitched, and they just threw him a flyer like Tim Meza, like, hey, come along for the playoff ride. You can come. And then he gave up 2 hits to 2 batters in the DS, and then he locked in. Tim Hill has like a low 2 ERA in 40 innings since joining the Yankees. He's been legit. all year long, despite struggling in game one and despite sort of being an anonymous name and a White Sox DFA. But they already worked their magic on him. It just culminated in a magical playoff game. So 2-0 lead is as good as you can ask for at home. Cushion is all you can ask for. You can ask for more out of the Yankees offense. You can hope Aaron Judge gets on a heater now that he's been unlocked somewhat. I don't know. I'm not just going to leave you the negativity. Speak on whatever the takeaways were from game 2 to you. I mean, Gerrit Cole, we probably need to expand upon a little bit just because, sure. Fantastic for most of the season, fantastic in his career. 2 out of 3 bad playoff starts without either the command or his elite fastball. So I wouldn't label it concern. I still want to roll with Gerrit Cole in game 6 at home if it gets there. Again, count me among those who hopes that it does not get there. I don't want to play game 6 in this series. I want to finish it. But I'd still be more confident with him than any other option they have on the mound. But, the majority of his playoff starts this year have been sub his particular level of talent.
Yeah, well, what are the concerns? The concerns are you get 2 subpar out of 3 Gerrit Cole starts. You get 1 blow-up Rodon start. You get 1 tremendous Rodon start. Yes, the perfect linear world, you're getting the best outings possible from those 2 guys. And the next step down from that, you're getting the best outings possible from one of those guys. We're not getting either of those yet. Again, still early-ish in the playoff run. The Yankees didn't have to play in the earlier rounds, which we're certainly thankful for. But this is a bit of a concern moving forward because, again, these are 2 unspectacular offenses that this team has faced so far. And it's not a knock on either of those teams. The Royals are an up-and-coming team, mostly lacking experience with the exception of a couple of guys there. And conventional wisdom would suggest that the Yankees should have handled business the way that they did.
But I will say good job by the Royals reinforcing their lineup with exactly the kind of guys you don't want to see in the playoffs. Because it's a relative cakewalk for the Yankees if they don't have Tommy Pham and Yuli Gurriel, but they had 2 playoff-tested veterans who showed up at the last second. Add that to 3 of the top 10 starters in ERA in the American League this year, and you have a recipe for potential upset, especially for those of us who watch the Yankees all year, out-talent teams, but not necessarily out-compete them. We've been hoping the Yankees would get on a roll for a long time, but if the Royals had shut them out 4-1, shut them down, you can't shut a team out with 1 run, but if the Royals had shut them down in the opener and made them question themselves, there's a path to the Royals just taking that 2-0 series lead to KC and never giving it up because they would have punched first. The Yankees did a good job not letting that happen, but I think the Royals were set up to give the Yankees problems. They certainly gave the Orioles problems. Yeah. For all the Orioles fans I see on here talking about the Yankees' easy path to a World Series, first of all, I know it's engagement bait. I'm not interacting with that, and I hope the Yankees make the World Series, and I hope they win it, but couldn't give less of a shit what you want to tweet about. Hoping they lose. I mean, these are tweets designed for if the Yankees lose, they can revisit it and be like, it was so easy. And okay, if it was so easy, where are you? You played the Royals, Baltimore. I don't see you
in
here.
Baltimore.
At home, Houston Astros. You play the Detroit Tigers at home. I don't see the Detroit Tigers here either. What I do see are the 1 and 2 seeds in the American League. 2 teams with the best records in the American League this season.
Yeah.
Guardians and New York Yankees 1v2. That's how the bracket was supposed to shake out. You were the ones who were looking to pull upsets. You failed. So I don't see you anywhere. And I don't.
Failures and losers. That's not this podcast today. It sure is not. But yeah, more so on the concerns and look, Gerrit Cole, 4 1/3, 6 hits, 4 walks, 2 runs. This is not a good offense. So I don't know if it's him maybe being a little bit shy about attacking the zone, or he still doesn't have his full-on stuff because he didn't get an extensive workload this season because he came back late from the elbow injury. You're talking about cold weather now. All these things are factors, but you'd like to see a little bit more out of there. It is what it is. My problem, again, like we mentioned last episode, is the offense. Because if the Yankees are up at this point 7-2, Gerrit Cole finishes that 4th inning or that 5th inning, and then maybe it's efficient, and then maybe he can come out for the 6th. Maybe. Not saying it's probable, but it's possible. It's on the table. the starters have had no leash to work with. They have been out there on an island working to salvage whatever they can. And I give all the credit to the pitching staff this postseason. They have executed in even Rodon's bad start in game 2. Like, the team gave up 4 runs. 4 runs. That's it. That, after a blow-up start that you envisioned being worse. When that 4th inning started to come off the rails for Rodon, you're like, oh, this is 8 runs for the Royals. This is it. Bullpen kept it in check. Aaron Boone kept it in check. Aaron Boone's done a great job managing. I'll say it again. Bullpen's done a great job of rising to the occasion. I'll say it again. However, everybody's going to be exhausted. Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver have thrown in every playoff game so far. Tommy Kahnle has thrown in 5 of 6. And it's just not a recipe for longevity. And I'm not saying every game needs to be, oh, you gotta get out to these comfy leads all the time and put your team in the best position possible. No, we know the postseason's going to be a grind, but you have played 6 games and all 6 have been grinds, and everybody has had to contribute to the highest of leverage possibilities up until this point, and that's where the concern lies. So if the offense scores a couple more runs or any runs at all, perhaps in game 2 of the DS, and Rodon has some Rodon has some leash, maybe he can work his way out of that trouble. Again, I don't think that that's possible, but you don't know what happens if you have a 5-0 lead versus a 5-3 lead. Like, it changes. Gerrit Cole out there by himself, having to cling to a 2-run lead or a 3-run lead or whatever. Like, it's not enough. And it's not enough because we want more from the Yankees. It's not enough because they keep setting themselves up to score and they're not scoring. So if they were just not getting hits, it would kind of be a difference, or they were not getting traffic on the bases. We would just be like, well, they kind of suck right now, so it is what it is. We got to deal with it. In reality, they kind of don't suck right now. They're doing everything that they can except for coming through, and the lack of that execution with coming through, whether it's bunting the guy over, whether it's running the bases properly, whether it's the correct situational hitting in that moment, whether it's cashing in the walks that keep clogging up the bases. Like, these things can't continue to slip through the cracks, and that's what's happening. So at this point, that's where we need to see the most improvement, because it will remove a little bit of strain off the pitching staff. It will remove strain off Aaron Boone from having to make, he's been making step-on-throat decisions throughout this entire postseason, and it's because he's been forced to do so. I would like to see him not feel compelled to do that, because long road ahead, and you're going to have to, this is going to have to be like, all hands on deck if this team makes it to the World Series. And then that's another, and you're talking about facing a tougher opponent like Mets and Dodgers, whoever it may be. If the Yankees advance, I think are much better than the Royals and the Guardians. And again, not a knock on either of those teams. These teams made the playoffs. These teams got as far as they did. They are talented. They are good. But there's a different echelon of talent on these other teams, and it's going to be a problem for the Yankees if they're dealing with an equal or barely lesser talent match plus a strained staff.
Yeah, and the Dodgers have serious pitching issues, but I don't see them. Are they in the room with us right now?
Crazy.
Yamamoto dominates. Jack Flaherty dominates. Walker Buehler dominated yesterday. Dodgers bullpen picked up the slack. Like, I didn't think they had starters, but they do. So it's going to be tough for them to make it past the Mets. Still, I'm not giving up on the Mets magic, and the Mets have 2 more home games. If the Mets can get it to 6 up or down 3-2, I think the Mets have a chance. I'm not going to say, oh, Dodgers in LA, that's a cinch. Like, we've seen the Dodgers take breaks. Seen the Dodgers. I'll give you this right now. Dodgers won last night, 8-0? That's almost exactly like game 1. I don't think they're going to come out with the same offensive firepower in game 4. I'm giving the Mets a win tonight, and then we'll see what happens in game 5. Like, I don't think that series is over by any means, but I think the Dodgers have answered some real questions about their potential ability to win the World Series this year, and questions that I had, where I'm saying, I know this is a super team, and I know no one's going to be impressed if they move on to the World Series or win the World Series, but have you seen this rotation? Have you seen what this lineup has done in previous Octobers? Have you seen the Padres? Like digging out of a 2-1 deficit in San Diego, that's impressive. I don't care if you're a super team preordained or not. That's an impressive playoff series win. And we'd be saying the same things if the Yankees had done. If the Yankees were, people talk up the Yankees all the time. But if they were on the road losing a series against a team that seemed to have gotten their number and came back and won it in 5, a bunch of people would be like, yeah, but they're the Yankees. They're supposed to do that. And it's like, no. Actually, baseball is quite difficult, and they set themselves up for failure, and they succeeded. That was you don't want to acknowledge it as a hater. I don't want to acknowledge it as I'm not a Dodger supporter, but what they've done this postseason has been very impressive, and their issues and bugaboos from the end of the regular season don't seem to have carried over into October. I'm not in a place where I care about picking opponents or anything. I want to see the Yankees advance to the World Series.
Yes.
And if they get there, then I will be excited by whoever's on their doorstep, whether it's a Subway Series or whether it's this West Coast behemoth that everybody wants to see us play. I am concerned with the here and now. I want to get past the Cleveland Guardians. I acknowledge the reality that this is a really exciting point in the series. The Yankees did what they had to do to make this exciting, but not edge of your seat nerve-wracking, because they won the first 2 at home. They have set themselves up. The Guardians are, I believe, the best road team the best home team in the American League, and the Yankees are a phenomenal road team. Mm-hmm. So there is no reason that the Yankees can't continue to play their game in Cleveland in games 3, 4, and 5. The Guardians are 50-30 at home. That is, in fact, the best home record in the American League. The Dodgers and Phillies had better home records in the National League. But the Yankees on the road, 50-31. The Yankees almost have the same road record as the Guardians have home record. That's kooky. That's very weird. The Yankees played when the Yankees were tied 1-1 against KC. I wasn't feeling great going into Game 3, but what the great that I was feeling was based on the fact that this team plays really good baseball on the road.
True.
And I plan on I don't know how long Clark Schmidt's going to be able to go today. I think they're going to have to be careful with the bullpen tomorrow with Luis Heel for sure. There might be a quick trigger there. The more pen arms you can save today, the better. Tomorrow might end up being the day we end up having to rely on Jake Cousins and Ian Hamilton to get us to the finish line. I don't know. Marcus Stroman's there. I'm excited for experimentation up 2-0 a little bit without overkill, without overdoing it. Because, again, today's lineup, some significant changes were made. Yeah. I think they're tipping their hand a little bit by John Birdie batting 6th. And I think they're saying this is going to be Anthony Rizzo at some point. If John Birdie was batting 9th, then I would say we should be concerned about Rizzo's hand, and he's not playing today no matter what. But Birdie batting 6th feels like they're acknowledging Anthony Rizzo is going to be in there at some point. Austin Wells, Trevino getting a start. If there was ever going to be a day to do it, it's today. Wells has like 10 hits since the start of September. He's been all world terrible, and the Yankees have continued to win these playoff games. And he got a clutch 2-out ribby single in the opener, and he's been invaluable defensively. But it's on Trevino now, a platinum glover, a top pitch framer, to be the same. There was a time when no one wanted to pitch to Wells. And he grew to earn their trust. But I think there's been some conversation about like, oh, the pitchers love Wells, and what's the bullpen now is to pitch to Trevino. It's like he used to be the guy who they requested. So I don't know. And I don't know how long his leash is going to go. I don't know if Matt Boyd's going to even get 2 ABs into this game. Like Trevino's batting 9th. Boyd doesn't go through the 5th usually. Does Trevino come up twice against him? Does Wells pinch hit in the 4th? Like there are a lot of things we still don't know about this game and how it's going to play out. But I think Clark Schmidt, the redemption tour continues. I like seeing him in this spot. I'm glad that we didn't listen and just go matchup and pitch him in Game 1 and pitch Rodon in Game 3. That would scare me a little bit. I'll have to think about that. Didn't happen. Clark Schmidt had a blown save to lose a game in the DS here in Cleveland 2 years ago.
Nightmare.
Clark Schmidt is a pitcher motivated by past successes and failures. Clark Schmidt internalizes these things. Clark Schmidt doesn't forget. Andy Pettit said before his KC start that Clark Schmidt was a pitcher that he couldn't believe his emotional maturity and everything he brings. Clark Schmidt is a playoff starter. Clark Schmidt is also a guy who hasn't really gotten past 5 innings in a couple of months. So short start, and you're hoping for short dominance, and you're hoping for the Yankees to put some runs on the board and get Boyd out of there. That's what you're hoping for. Reality, down 2-0, Cleveland knows that they're going to need to scrap today. You thought Stephen Vogt was maybe a little too aggressive in game 2. I certainly did. I think you got to manage aggressively, but it was a mix of aggression and passivity. Like, again, Cade Smith, you're being aggressive. He's coming in, they're walking Soto, getting the Judge. Smart move, I liked it. Cade Smith dominates the next inning. Child's play. He erases it off the board. Why isn't Cade Smith in the 4th inning? Why are we already maximizing? Why is Hunter Gaddis the 7th pitcher of the game and the 1 weak link? Judge goes yard off him because when you're going to the bullpen 7 times, it's more likely you find a dud, even if it's one of your 4 horsemen. And he had a dud game. He gave Judge a pitch he could handle. Judge didn't miss it. So I think he managed game 2 like he probably should have managed game 3. But today is full desperation mode for Cleveland. The reason why these teams coming home, it's not easy to put them down 3-0 and 2-1 is the thing that happens a lot, is because they've never been more desperate than this. They need to wake themselves. If they lose today, they're down 3-0 in the series, and Stephen Vogt knows that. He's telling everybody, you better not lose today. I know you're trying hard this whole series, but today, relentless at-bats. Do not give away an out. Do not give away a pitch. And you know what Aaron Boone is saying? Hopefully not showing 2004 Red Sox highlights. Hopefully saying the same thing. Hey, you know who's really fucking hungry today? Those guys in the other dugout. But you know who's composed and talented and has won the first 2 games and has a blueprint we've been executing for weeks now and already won a playoff series and is on the precipice of really putting a dominant foot down in another one? Us, the New York Yankees. Don't let him back in. And he's going to be saying that no matter what the result of today is, I assume. It's going to be the same message. End this. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Cleveland is a good team. The Yankees are not playing a playoff series against the White Sox. Cleveland has the 2nd best record in baseball. Cleveland has a bullpen. Many people picked Cleveland to win this series before the series started because they saw the Yankees we saw in the regular season. They saw the Yankees against elite pitching in October. They know Cleveland has elite relief pitching. Cleveland does not have elite starting pitching. Cleveland is putting traffic on the bases and leaving just as much traffic on the bases as the Yankees are. If Cleveland starts producing some runs, the Yankees need to be prepared to produce some runs too. But if you get into a tight game with Cleveland, you're at a disadvantage. And so the Yankees have they've had multi-run leads in this series, which they didn't have in the entire Royals series. First multi-run lead was in game 4. So good job getting multi-run leads, but bad job not putting games away early and just punching hard and taking Cleveland out of it. Matt Boyd has been excellent in this postseason, but only in short spurts. So expect another very good short spurt. Can you get a run off him? Can you get 2? It's going to be tight when he leaves, and then see what you can do against the middle part of the bullpen and see if you can trick Stephen Vogt into, again, giving you a 3rd look at Avila and these guys who you're like, Zabrowski. These are the guys, like, if every starter is out before the 4th inning, it's tough to bring the horsemen in to cover the rest of the game. So work Boyd's pitch count, see what you can scratch, and take these guys seriously because they're good and they're supposed to be here. Again, according to the bracket, they're quite literally supposed to be here. They fulfilled their end of the bargain. They're here. So what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? Hey, a lot of lineup changes, yeah. So 1 through 3 remain unchanged tonight. Torres, Soto, Judge, duh. Then after that, we got Wells out, Stanton's at cleanup. Jazz batting behind him, John Birdie, Anthony Volpe, Alex Verdugo, Jose Trevino. Am I opposed to the changes? No. Yankees can't hit lefties. They got to shake something up. We have been advocating for 3 games now that, at least that Austin Wells at least had to be moved down in the lineup. I'm not against taking him out. It's just more weird Yankees decision-making where you go from Austin Wells is our starting catcher and he's the permanent cleanup hitter, and we're not wavering from that, to Austin Wells is now benched against a left-handed pitcher when they had opportunities to shake up this lineup since September. Wells finished September 8 for 72. Giant slump. I think the slump towards the end of it was like 2 for 31 or something like that. It was bad. Either way, the Yankees knew what was going on. Didn't move him out of the cleanup role. Jose Trevino, I had it right here. I pulled it up while you were talking. Got a total of 8 starts in September, and a couple of those were a result of Wells getting hit on the hand with a pitch.
Yeah, I don't remember any of them, to be totally honest. I watch the Yankees every single day. Love them with all my heart. I don't remember those starts.
You probably don't remember any of them because he went 3 for a lot, 3 for 30, it looks like, something like that. Very close to it. So, yeah, no extra base hits, 1 RBI, 6 strikeouts. So, yeah, they were not memorable. My beef with the Yankees with this decision making was that Aaron Boone's been playing the bullpen perfectly. Ride the hot hand, get him in there, end this now. Let's be done. There is not the same urgency with the lineup. It is keep the guys in the same spots. The at-bats are eventually going to come around. We certainly hope so. And then it's let's make drastic decision now because we've waited now 6 weeks to actually make any sort of adjustments. They've had a long time to do this. They could have moved Jazz up to the cleanup role for a little while. They could have experimented with Rizzo there upon his return. I know he fractured his fingers and it changed everything, but Verdugo obviously no chance of getting there, but they've clearly been averse to having Judge and Stanton hitting back-to-back because of the matchup issues and because of the problems that creates when teams go to their high-leverage relievers, and that's understandable. On the flip side, you cannot keep a guy in the cleanup spot who is murdering all of the momentum. And again, love Austin Wells. This decision to move him out of the cleanup spot could have just been for a couple days, should have came a lot earlier. And I don't know if I agree with fully taking him out of the lineup because what you did was you gave Austin Wells the starting catching job and you put more of the burden on him by locking him into the cleanup spot despite a giant slump. And that is not putting a player in the best position to succeed. You know, there's a mental toll there. You see what's happening physically and with the output. So I don't know why we're beating the dead horse and forcing him in that role when there was flexibility. Look, like none of the left-handed hitters are really doing anything outside of Juan Soto, right? Like Jazz Chisholm has not been good. Anthony Rizzo injured actually has kind of been good, but we don't know how much we can rely on him because of that injury and because of the long layoff that he's had. Alex Verdugo has been bad. Oswaldo Cabrera's been good, but he's not getting the playing time. But there was many ways that they could have done this. And I know it's unconventional to maybe see Jazz in the cleanup spot or to see Oswaldo in the cleanup spot, or it would have felt like they're, having some sort of veteran advantage or favoritism by putting Rizzo in the cleanup spot. But you had to have done something because it wasn't working. The team wasn't scoring runs. A lot of the momentum was getting the knees cut out from under them, and it wasn't working out. So that's the part that I don't agree with. On the flip side, I'm glad to see that John Birdie's back in the lineup. Either him or Oswaldo obviously deserve more playing time, and that's not a slight against anybody. Again, Anthony Rizzo has value to this team, a lot of it. He is a veteran voice. He's a player who has had a lot of experience, has been in this position before. But we have to find out a way to mix these guys in. I'm also not opposed to giving Oswaldo a start at third base and putting Jazz on the bench for later in the game. Come in as a pinch hitter as a lefty and take over at third, or come in as a pinch runner if you actually are going to pay attention on the base paths. Like this lineup.
The only problem there is if you put Jazz on the bench, then Jazz has more time to give obnoxious quotes to reporters about the champions or the Guardians being lucky or bad or what have you.
It's true, and we don't want that. But for the first time in what feels like forever, this team has the ability to be extremely flexible with their lineup, and they're not utilizing it. And again, everything's worked out. You are 5-1 in playoff games, so no one is shedding a tear here, but utilize the flexibility. Will better prepare you for the future. It will better prepare you for slumps. It will help you work around being in the doldrums offensively. It will give players, it will prevent players from getting cold on the bench, especially contributors like Birdie and Oswaldo who have been playing well, who don't deserve to be on the bench for multiple games in a row, but it is what it is. This team has a lot of players right now. I'm glad it's starting now. I don't know if I entirely agree with it. We'll see how it works out, but I wish there was just more intentionality here with the riding certain hot hands on offense, or just saying, look, Austin, you are 2 for 24 in this playoff, or even before the other night. You're 2 for 20. We can't afford this right now. I'm sure you know this. We're going to bump you down in the lineup. That's that. Or you give Trevino a start if you really wanted to. But yeah, and even with Jazz, playoff performance, man, not really acceptable right now. Oswaldo's been getting on base. We're going to play him for a game. We're going to see what happens. But I sort of get where Aaron Boone's coming from, but time is now. Can't keep waiting around. That's really my biggest thing.
Yeah, this is the postseason. These Guardians relievers are too good. They keep coming in against Austin Wells and sending him down on buzzsaw balls. You can't have that guy in the cleanup spot for now. I understand not wanting to shake things up too drastically with a 2-0 series lead. That's why I would say this is drastic. This looks surprising, but it's in the vein of giving them the best chance to compete against a left-hander. If they were down 2-0, if it were 1-1, this wouldn't be called desperation. This would just be called maximizing your chances of hitting a left-handed starter. And Jack Curry just tweeted exactly what we said. Boone said Birdie is starting at first. Trevino is starting at catcher because the lefty Boyd's on the mound. Once Boyd is replaced, my expectation is Wells and Rizzo will both be in this game. That's fine. I mean, Stephen Vogt, again, down 2-0, is starting Austin Hedges over Bo Naylor because he's nervous, because it's a literal must-win game for the Cleveland Guardians. The Yankees are countering by playing the percentages and giving their lineup the best chance to perform well against a left-handed starting pitcher. I think I wish Rizzo were in there, but we're 2 days removed from saying, oh my God, Birdie and Cabrera were fine. You're ruining this team's chances ahead of the ALCS with your blind loyalty to this veteran first baseman. And then Rizzo comes in and is 3 for 7, has a 105-mile-an-hour single on the biggest double of the series, and now it's Rizzo's got to clean up. What are we doing putting Rizzo on the bench? I get it. Baseball discourse is very funny. It changes day over day. And it's not surprising. It's not a novel point for me to be saying, hey, we're having different conversations up 2-0 than we were at 0-0, or if we had been tied 1-1 or down 2-0. Yeah, no kidding. But I think the Yankees are handling this right. I think they're playing the percentages to start the game. And when Boyd leaves, they're going to have 2 killer power bats available to play the remaining 4 or 5 innings of the ALCS Game 3. The more you can keep Rizzo off his feet, the better, too. I'm not sure what they were doing in Game 1. Physical and emotional distress or whatnot, whatever they removed him for in the 9th. Yeah. But it worked. It worked because he had a better game in Game 2, and he was essential to the effort. So, Rizzo as a playoff Yankee has been better than Rizzo as a playoff Cub. Entering this series, he had a career slightly below average 97 WRC plus in the postseason. As Yankee, he has like an OPS over 1,000 in 12 playoff games. Limited duty, but he's been great on the back 9 of his career, and he's going to continue to matter in this series moving forward, and he's going to matter tonight. He's just not in the starting lineup.
He'll be in there. You better believe it. Don't worry. But yeah, I mean, I think they're in a good position. I think this is a good way to at least get an experimental look at these other players. Like you said, Boyd is probably not going to go deep into, I mean, knock on wood. Maybe the Yankees will.
Crazy and defiant if he did.
Yeah. The problem there is that Yankees don't hit lefties, so maybe he gets a little bit of a longer leash. But nonetheless, you got Clark Schmidt opposing him. And Clark Schmidt had a really good outing in Kansas City. I think he was obviously robbed of going deeper into the game because of defensive misalignment, tough play that extended the inning that really should have ended the inning. So as long as he can hold his own and this new look Yankees lineup can provide some sort of a boost with it being righty heavy, and then Aaron Boone can make the necessary adjustments if it's a close game and the Guardians end up going to more of their righty relievers, could be fine. Could totally be fine. We're going to need Clark Schmidt to go 5 at least based on everything that's happened. I don't know who piggybacks him. I really don't. Do you think there's a world in which if Clark Schmidt has a decent outing, but it's laborious, right? He's at 85 pitches, maybe at he's about to finish the 4th. Mm-hmm. You go to heel there and then say, we'll see. And say you're winning 3-0. Do you go to heel there and see how much he can extend you and then say, well, we have Stroman in our back pocket for game 4? Or is that too risky?
For me, it's too risky.
I'm trying to figure out what this might look like if Clark Schmidt can't go more than 4 innings.
I think if it's 85 pitches in the 4th, they're up 3-0. Ian Hamilton is starting the 5th, and he's going 2 2/3 innings.
Okay.
At least that's the goal.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work out that way, then I think Marcus Stroman is in play for this game. If Hamilton's first, because I mean it depends. Like if
they're down, I think Stroman is the play. If they're down like 3-4-0, but if it's tied or they have a narrow lead, I don't know.
Cousins. I mean, Weaver is no longer available to be this Good job getting Clay Holmes out of the game when you did, Aaron Boone, in game 2. Because I'm not the only one who was getting texts that was like, what, Clay's out? What the hell? And I get it, because it's a 3-2 game with Tim Hill in the ball game. But Clay was called on to do a job. He did his job. If he's going 25 pitches every day, then the off day is not enough. We know Clay Holmes has to be in a rhythm, and he is. He pitched extensively in game 1. He came in and did exactly what he had to do in game 2. Chopper grounder into the hole from a guy in Will Brennan who was brought in to counteract him. It didn't work. 4-pitch walk to Andres Jimenez. It seemed purposeful, and then he took Austin Hedges to school. Got out of there with 9 pitches, and 4 of them were the lowest stress possible because they were borderline intentional balls. So good job getting Clay Holmes out of that game. Good job not using Tommy Kahnle in game 1. I am always going to be endlessly nervous when Tommy Kahnle's first pitch is a changeup low and away in the dirt because it always is, and it's crazy. But he's done his job this postseason too. Ron Darling needs to stop telling me who has 0 playoff ERAs. That would be great if we could just mute the mic or even play an older clip of him saying something else when he tries to talk in those situations. Not thrilled Weaver gave up a home run in the 9th inning of game 2, but also he was bound to at some point. Yeah. I think the conversation about him unlocking Jose Ramirez is probably a little overblown. One, because Jose Ramirez is an MVP candidate, so who's delivered in the postseason routinely, and it's not like he wasn't going to get going at some point. You just hope it's too late and too little. And then also he homered off a hanging changeup. So we got to look at Weaver's arsenal. I mean, they know what Weaver throws, and Weaver's really good, and that pitch was bad, and he homered.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, in a solo home run in a game with a 4-run lead. I didn't like to see it. I wasn't pumping my fists, but it was like, yeah, Weaver threw a bad 1-1 changeup and it left the yard. You know, you don't want a free throw shooter to see it go in, but I also think treating it as some inevitability that they're going to keep Jose Ramirez down, for a 4, 5, or 6 game series, Jose Ramirez isn't going to do anything. No, the point is that he is, and you have to win anyway. You have to be better than the Guardians, whose best player is Jose Ramirez. So Josh Naylor got going in the last game. I didn't hear anybody talking about that. He was ripping liners off Cole. But nobody was like, oh, Cole woke up Naylor. No, I mean, Naylor's a really good hitter, and he performed. I prefer he didn't, but he was going to. He's quite good.
Yeah. What do I want? What do I want here? What do we want here? What are we feeling? I need this to, I don't know. I'm confused on how this game is going to shake out. Mm-hmm. I think what we have going for us is the fact that the Guardians really aren't waking up at all offensively. I don't, I think the pessimist in us can say that Jose Ramirez waking up from the meaningless Luke Weaver inning is valid in some capacity, but you're going to need a lot more than that to wake him up after the struggles that he's had, especially against how good the Yankees pitching staff is. Like, just because you got a home run doesn't mean now you're going to be able to see beach balls against a really good pitching staff. The pitching staff has been the Yankees' strength this entire time. So really all we need is, again, traffic on the bases, knock Boyd out, figure out where you're going after that. Hope there's a bullpen plan beyond Schmidt, because can't rely on Schmidt to give length. He historically doesn't give length, so it is what it is. But, I think that this is very much it's weird because I'm not confident in the Yankees in terms of what they're doing, but I am oddly confident in them to sweep because I'm not scared of it's much like the Orioles situation that I had this year where I was like, the Orioles are good, but I'm not scared of them. And I don't think they're going to do anything. And that's probably one of my 50, one take that came true out of the 50 that I had this year. So props to that. But I'm not scared of the Guardians. I think that they have a good team. I don't think they have enough impact players to get them to the next level and to neutralize all of the talent the Yankees have. So the Yankees have, the massive payroll, the big names, the super otherworldly talented players that the Guardians don't. The Guardians have one of those guys, and it's Jose Ramirez, and he's cold. And even if he were to come alive, we've seen how this is not a one-man show. We've seen that Aaron Judge has had to get picked up by his teammates throughout this entire postseason because he's been struggling. So yeah, I'm kind of confident in a win tonight. I'm kind of confident in them shutting the door in game 4, especially if the pitching plan goes there. Like if they win tonight, you're stomping on their throats in game 4. Like you're pulling out all the stops for game. At least that's the way I'd be thinking if I was manager. I don't know what that would look like, but yeah, I'm unloading the bullpen in game 4, willing to blow it. And, even if you lose that game and you lose game 5 or whatever, you still have the 2 chances at home to take the series. So, Clark, give me 5 tonight. Not going to get greedy. Really not going to get greedy. And then let's get Ian Hamilton for 2. And then let's hope it's a little bit out of reach. And then maybe we could see like Stroman in a 6-run game. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Cousins, Meza. I mean, it's crazy that Mark Leonard Jr. is not on the roster, man. I think, I know this is just explaining the rules of baseball, but I like batting first tonight. Like, I understand that that's what an away team does. You don't get to elect that, but I think that's a big advantage for the Yankees in this game.
Yeah.
The crowd will be amped out of their gills. They know that tonight is their night, and they know that they're going to be focused on disrupting Clark Schmidt in the bottom of the inning. If the Yankees can get 1 or 2 in the first, I think that's huge, and I think a shutout first inning from Schmidt is also huge. Not saying that they can end this game in the first, and also not saying that they're going to put up 6 in the first and put it to bed. But I think even a slim first inning lead today could be massive for the cause. Otherwise, you're probably going to be locked in a late game. That is tight. You're probably going to see Emmanuel Clase. You got to hope it's a tie game when he's in. That would be great. And being up 2-0 lets you fantasize about that kind of thing where you're not like terrified of a 2-2 game in the 9th with Clase in there. You'd rather be winning 14-2, but sell me on scoring a run early and Clark getting a shutdown first. And then I feel pretty good about this one. And then I'm watching Nestor Cortez's workouts. I really miss him. I want him back, whether he's starting a game or whether he is a better caddy than Marcus Stroman. And I think if the Yankees do advance, I think you keep Stroman on the roster, but you replace Meza with Nestor Cortez and let's get weird. And then if Nestor is hurt and starts the series and has to come off the active roster, then Tim Meza comes on and joins us. But if you think we can't use Nestor Cortez and Stroman on the same roster, if you think there's just not a place for short relief lefties, then you're not looking at the current roster where it's Tim Hill, who is a folk hero, but far from a short thing. I don't think a lot of you were very confident in him in a 1-run game. And rightly so, because he's a weird finesse guy and he just gotten beaten up by singles the day before. And Tim Meza, there hasn't even been an inkling of him coming into any of these games. No. He came into game 2 and with Bobby Witt Jr. at the plate, down 3. The Yankees already down 3. Boone was like, I don't even want to see what he can do here. I'm bringing in Luke Weaver, which is honestly maybe the one thing Boone has done this whole season, postseason, that I've disagreed with. But I think I like batting first. I like Clark Schmidt on the mound today. I like Clark Schmidt being a dog. And I think they're in a strong position. And being up 2-0 has allowed us to have this kind of discourse instead of having freak-out discourse. And that I also love. We're going to come back, and we're going to be here Monday. And we've done all these shows.
Monday.
Almost no data to work off of. But Monday, either the series will be over or we'll have a game 6 that night. A remarkable amount of action will take place between these podcast episodes. And that's good. I hope the series is over. I hope we get to preview a World Series. But at the very least, the Yankees season will not be ending in Cleveland, Ohio. They will not be. Game 5 is only the end of the series in a good way. Game 4 is only the end of the series in a good way. The Yankees are either going to win this series over the weekend or they're coming back home. They're going to have to play more baseball games in front of the best fans in baseball, and they can, again, attack that challenge with whatever veracity they need. Go New York Yankees. That's all I got. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Pretty simple. Side note, I'm a little bit worried about Nestor coming back. He hasn't pitched in a month. I just don't know how efficient. I want him back. I love him. I thought that was a huge loss for them, but man, I don't know what, and by the time the World Series rolls around, that's not until next week. So you're going to have 5 weeks without pitching.
There's a million things to talk about before we even get. Let's get there, and then we can talk about it.
Let's get there. So he's got to work. He had a workout yesterday. I think Aaron Boone's talking to the media right now, so there might be some stuff out there. Anyway, for more on that, head on over to yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there for you all throughout the postseason, leading up to offseason 3 weeks away. A lot of stuff, guys. Don't forget it. It's not just playoff content. There's a lot of other things in between. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. As always, go Yanks. 3-0 tonight. Let's make life easy before we got to sweat out the World Series if we get there, because we know that one's going to be a slobber knocker. But here we go. Game 3 in Cleveland. Clark Schmidt, Matt Boyd. Let us do it.
I tell you what, I'd really like to get there one day at a time, preaching patience, preaching competence. Execute, and you will win the baseball game. Execute again, and you will win the series.